and welcome back to Traffic Talks. I hope you are doing well and you're having a good week. I definitely am. As you know, the Summer Olympics has started, and that was just a sign that this episode is going to be about the Olympics. It's not going to be a very long one, but I did do a little bit of research on the topic of the Olympics, and what I found was actually quite interesting, but I'm not going to bore you with details. Just throw out a fun fact or two. The Olympics started on Saturday with the opening ceremony. It's being held in Tokyo, and it's still called Tokyo 2020 because it was, as you know, supposed to be held last year, but COVID pushed it completely out of the way. Understandable. But I always make the joke when speaking about it and say they already printed everything, so they just left it Tokyo 2020 because having to reprint stuff is super expensive. So I'm just like, smart move. That aside, in South Africa particularly, watching these kind of international events is usually expensive, and the country generally doesn't have the capacity to pay for those kind of things. So if you do want to watch uninterrupted sports, or rather the event, you would have to then purchase a DSTV package or cable for people in America or outside of South Africa, or even one of those OVHD satellite things. And that is all good and well, but the coverage is very limited from what I've seen. They do put it on the normal channels, but it's only for a few hours, and then that's it. That's all you get. I'm upset that there isn't a extra channel given just for the next few months while the Olympics is on, or something free that the people can watch, just so that it can inspire youngsters who are not familiar with those kinds of sports to actually see it and be exposed to it and learn. They've actually added, I think, 4 events in total that weren't there before, and one of them includes skateboarding. How modern is the world to include skateboarding as an Olympic event? I've seen it. I'm not that impressed with what I saw. That is very limited view, so I'm not gonna hold that in high regard. But the point is, exposing youngsters to these kinds of sports, especially on such an international platform, can only do good. So why not? That aside, my favorite event in the Olympics is always the gymnastics. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I used to do gymnastics for a very short period in my life. I think I was grade 4, grade 5. I did it for like a few months and that was it. But even when I stopped going to the classes, I still practiced in the backyard of my house or at school on the field with friends. That was something I seriously loved. Getting to watch it on TV was always the best thing ever, because you get to see all these things you didn't know was possible, especially from like a physiological kind of view, where you watch it and it almost looks like a superhuman doing these jumps, doing these leaps, doing these flips, soaring through the air. It's incredible, and I've always loved that. One thing I always used to think was, I could never do that. Not for any other reason than it was very stifling, in my opinion. And all sorts of sports stars I view in a very similar fashion. For example, you say the name Tony Hawk, it's synonymous with skateboarding. That is him, that is what he does, that is the end all and the be all of it. And that's obviously not how the world works, but a lot of times that does happen. Serena Williams, synonymous with tennis. Legend, hero, everything. She's also incredibly talented when it comes to fashion design. It's what she studies, it's what she loves. But the tennis is a sport, and she did incredibly well in that sport, and that was her bread and butter. So why not keep going with it until it kind of wears itself out? And she's been doing it for years, and that's awesome. But what about someone who's 16 years old, who's in the Olympics, who wins gold? You've peaked. Like, how do you function when you've peaked at 16? You're amazing. Yeah, you got a gold medal for your country. Where do you go from here? There's nothing higher than that. Like, you've peaked. You can only go down from there. You can't go up. So to me, it's very narrow-minded, and I know we don't work that way in the world anymore. We've honestly upgraded ourselves to the point where anybody who can hold up a packet and take a picture can be considered an influencer and they can get sponsorships and make money. And it's like, why? It's at a point where you kind of wonder, why do we allow this to go on, so to speak? And obviously, the world is changing. You don't need to just be an Olympic gymnast. You don't just need to be an accountant. Whatever it is that you do, there are so many other options, and that is the beauty of this world. Being an Olympic athlete takes dedication. I personally just feel it's a very hard thing to do, and your lifespan in that particular career is very short. Like I said, peaking at 16, not that great. Every sport has their age limit and age range, and that to me has always been like, I don't like being put in a box. I don't want that. So to see that happen to other people is horrific from my experience, but it's something I can learn from, which is why I try not to even think in that term of this is you, this is what you do, that is it, that is the end all, that is the be all. That is why I have this side hustle for myself. I do my 9 to 5, I work on this on the side, I've got another thing that I'm busy with at the moment. Everything grows, and you need to grow with it. Especially with this COVID, we've had to learn to be a more hands-off kind of society where nothing is done in person, everything is at a distance. We've done distance learning, medical care, work. Everything is literally as far as possible. So adapting to the world is a good thing. The fact that I really wanted to just blurt out from the beginning of this episode was the fact that there's an Olympics every 2 years. However, the Olympics are held every 4 years. Let me just explain. In 2016, we had the Rio Summer Olympics. In 2018, we had the Winter Olympics. In 2020, which should have happened last year, was the Tokyo Olympics. And in 2022, we are having the Winter Olympics in Beijing. The most amazing thing in my research is that Beijing will be the first country to ever have hosted a Summer and Winter Olympics, because they hosted the Summer Olympics back in 2008 and they will be hosting the Winter Olympics in 2022. So they are literally making history going forward. Like, that to me is insane. And I can't wait. I like the Winter Olympics, especially for the ice skating. I am so over the moon when that happens, because the figure skating is my favorite, whether it's the singles, the doubles, whatever. That to me is so good. I've actually gone at one point and just sat and watched like 3 hours of figure skating and it was insane, but I love it. The gymnastics as well, I can just watch it 4 hours. It is the most fascinating thing to me. I am obsessed. And the fun thing is that it doesn't kill you because everybody's watching it at the same time you are, so you can be forgiven for having this binge moment. That is all I wanted to say on that. Like I said, I did not want to make this too long. One thing I will say is pay attention to the background, not just the event. As morbid as it sounds, the stadiums are empty. Let me repeat that for the people in the back who did not hear. The stadiums are empty. Like empty. And for people who generally feed off of a crowd such as athletes, having an empty stadium is unfathomable, but it's currently the reality we live in, especially with COVID. And seeing it has just made me realize how messed up this virus has got us. And the fact that South Africa itself is in the third wave, in the midst of it, and still causing problems instead of trying to help is beyond me. So, look at what's going on around you. That is it. The song of the week is the one that was sung at the opening ceremony by John Legend and Keith Urban. They did a rendition of Imagine, so that is the song of this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment down below, especially if you have a favorite event. You can check out my link to my Instagram, which will be down below as well. And always remember, keep being a better being. I will see you in the next episode. Love you. Bye.